Have you ever looked at a picture, a photograph, a painting, or maybe even a slide in a presentation and thought, wow, that's really good. I like that. We almost intuitively know when a visual is good. By good, we mean we understand it. It speaks to us. It makes sense or has meaning. We understand it. But we all know or can sense that some visuals don't work really well either. What is it that makes some visuals work so well? It's something called composition. Visual composition is how artists, graphic designers, interface designers, architects, or really anyone developing visuals arrange the visual elements of the final object. Visual composition is very much like music composition. Yet, while the musician uses the basic building blocks of melody, harmony, key, meter, and rhythm to make music, you, the visual designer, will use the basic building blocks of point, line, shape, texture, and color to compose your visual. When you compose a visual, you are bringing together and arranging elements either on a two-dimensional or a three-dimensional plane to create something that is pleasing or helpful for your audience. And with all of these components, we humans create endless possibilities in our visual communication. So in this unit, we'll explore 5 elements of visual composition, things you can use to make visuals work for your audiences. All visuals begin with a blank canvas, and onto it, we assemble these basic elements. Let's explore these basic elements. Get comfortable with the role they play in a visual, and then you'll be practicing how to bring them together in a visual composition of your own. Remember, visual composition is a skill, and like any skill, we can all learn about the principles and the rules, and through practice, we can become better at it. Pretty neat, don't you think? The point, or dot, is the smallest element of a visual composition. It's irreducible, and from it, the other objects are built. You may think a dot is very boring. Well, it can be, unless it's in the hands of a master. Look at this visual composition, a famous painting called Sunday on La Grande Jatte by Georges Seurat. It's all dots. Really, I've seen it. Millions of dots arranged and composed to form an object that's very pleasing to most audiences. The dot can create very different reactions from the audience just by virtue of where it's placed on the blank space. In the first, we're drawn immediately to the center of the visual, while the second focuses us to the top right of the visual. Think about that in some basic visuals you've seen that are either visually centered or off-centered. How do they make you feel? What's your reaction? What message do you get from the person who created the visual? Let's add one more dot. Now we start to imply ideas such as separateness versus togetherness, or unity versus opposition. And we all recognize this. It's a domino. Oops, that's a picture of my cat Domino. I meant this domino. Okay, enough of dots. For now, let's just remember that the dot is the most basic building block of a visual. A series of dots that are close together create a line, the next major element in visual composition. Some of the oldest known human cave drawings use lines to convey messages and tell stories. Lines are very versatile. They can be straight or curved, thick or thin, coarse or smooth, jagged or elegant. And when connected, they allow us to create virtually infinite forms of linear visual expression, or what we call shapes. The point is, oh, that pun was intended, that points connect to make lines, and lines come together to form shapes. Even the most complex visual compositions can be broken down into and are centered around basic shapes: squares, circles, rectangles, and triangles, or their three-dimensional equivalents: spheres, cubes, and pyramids. Shapes in our compositions speak to our audience. The square can represent boundaries. A pyramid can represent power. A circle can represent a process or unity. As you develop visuals, use shapes that convey or enhance your message.